morning. Morning for me. For the majority of you listening to this, it should be morning for you as well, because these drop at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening. My name is Jason Miles. I am the host of This is Revolution Podcast, and this is an episode that I was a little nervous to do. When I started doing this show, one of the first guests I had on was a friend of mine from school named Nora Barrows Friedman, that is a podcast host, radio show host. She's been in this world. I think she was doing it when she was in school, kind of like interning. And we have a local radio station here called KPFA, and they had like a kids station, if you will, so young people could learn how radio works. And I want to say she's been part of that for a while. So she's been in the radio world for some time, but she's also been an activist for some time. Just gonna have to excuse my voice. An activist for some time. And she came on, I think it's episode 6, and she gives a brief lay history of Israel-Palestine conflict. And I never really had too much pushback on anything I posted that was Israel-Palestine related. Even our show with the great Norm Finkelstein was kind of retweeted by big journalistic names, and maybe that show had more to do with the content of the show. If you want to go back and hear that show, it's episode 128. It's literally the most popular episode that we have as a show. I enjoy talking to Norm Finkelstein off air. But it was a fun show. You'll definitely laugh a little bit, and you'll hopefully you enjoy the conversation. Go back and listen to episode 128. But even that show wasn't met with the same amount of like pushback. And then a few months ago, when Israel started really hardcore bombing Palestine and, of course, killing a lot of innocent people, we were kind of coincidentally doing more Palestine coverage with Palestine scholars, and didn't really get too much pushback. As the show's gotten a little bigger, there's been a few more comments from the Zionist end, but not too much, to be honest with you. But there's been a few topics lately where it can get spicy in the chat and sometimes in the comment section. And when it was pitched to me that we were going to have Matt Bender on the show, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And we were going to talk about, I thought originally we were going to talk about the alt-right, and somehow that morphed into we're talking about Bitcoin. Which, I'll be honest, I wasn't too thrilled, because I'm not the biggest fan of the culture behind it. And I ended up reading, I've seen Matt Bender, of course, before on his show and on the Majority Report, but I hadn't read his articles on this. And so we read all his articles on kind of the scandalous side of this cryptocurrency. And this was a fun episode because also you get to watch Pascal in real time try to figure out what all the hype about this is about, right? Bitcoin. Because to me, it just feels like people that traded like penny stocks. But there was definitely a few you don't know what you're talking about Bitcoin bros. That's always fun. So for a minute, I was like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this episode as an audio only because I just don't want to. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. So this is our episode with Matt Bender where he breaks down Bitcoin, what blockchain is. Pascal was trying to figure out what blockchain is. It was a fun episode. Fun in the sense that as Pascal is finding out what all this shit is, he just keeps cutting Matt off. As Matt's trying to get a little deeper in the analysis, Pascal's like, wait. And then this is also the night that we find out that Nina Turner did not win her race to become a congressman, or her primary, rather. She was outdone by what looks to be Zionist money. The Clintons strike again to thwart another progressive challenger. And, you know, we definitely didn't get into the silliness of well, what would she have done if she got into office? Because these other ones are ineffective. We were somewhat shocked. So in the bonus half of this show, we definitely start examining strategies moving forward. If you want to hear that bonus half, there's only one way to do it. There's links in the description wherever you're listening to this show. Patreon.com/Bitter Lake Presents. This is my cue. I gotta go. Thank you guys for listening. Please share the show, write a review, rate it, and I am out. Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of This is Revolution Podcast. Today, I don't know what to expect with the chat today because not too often do we take on topics that get everybody really in an uproar. And when I released the intro clip to this video, how Bitcoin, the first response was a dislike. I was like, shit, I'm going to have all these libertarians in the chat. So be ready for a libertarian-filled chat. That being said, let me bring on the Libertarian Crusher. He is my Haitian homeboy. My homie, my dog, he is the Pascal Robert.
Peace and greetings to the chat. Peace and greetings to the audience. Peace and greetings, Jason Miles. And in celebration of the Black radical and revolutionary tradition, I would like to wish everyone a happy Black August. If you are not aware of what Black August is or what it represents, I suggest that you hit the Googles. It is the celebration of the Black radical tradition in the memory of Black political prisoners and the birthdays of various Black revolutionaries. And also in the month of August, we have the beginning of the Haitian Revolution with a ceremony Boakaima. And all of this is why August, or Black August, is considered the month of celebration for the Black radical tradition.
Speaking of Black radicals, before we went on air, we were talking with show contributor, sometimes co-host, sometimes blurb writer, sometimes editor, Mean Jean Bajlan, and he was telling us that Nina Turner is almost 10 points behind in her race against Chantel Brown, a Clinton-backed quote-unquote corporate Democrat. So that is sad. That is sad.
The election is not over yet. Someone corrected me, commemoration rather than celebration for Black August. Okay. We won't have to be.
Well, we can commemorate. Before we bring in our guest for today, I think officially he will be the last member of the Majority Report show to come on this show. We've had damn near everybody. Oh, we haven't had Sam Cedar, but I was on the show with Sam Cedar. This is the clip we made about cryptocurrency. Get ready.
Let me explain something to you right now. Okay, here's a $10 bill. This is garbage. This is garbage. Your people in South Africa, you have your rand, right? That's going to zero. That's going to zero. This is going to zero too. Euros are going to zero. The yen's going to zero. The Chinese currency is going to zero. It's all going to zero against Bitcoin. If you don't understand that yet, you're going to be impoverished. You're going to be on the street. You're going to be begging. You're going to be out of business. You're going to be toast.
Max, do you know that it's a criminal offense to tear up?
Do you know that with the Bitcoin I have, I can buy any freaking senator or congressman I want? I make the laws. He who has the Bitcoin makes the laws, Rand. We're not going to just sit around and let the goddamn congressman tell us what to do. We've got the capital. We make the laws. We've got the Bitcoin. They don't.
For its advocates, especially on the libertarian right, cryptocurrency has been presented as a disruptive and even emancipatory technological development. Due to their decentralized nature, cryptocurrencies are often thought of as a threat to the hegemony of both traditional banks and the nation-state. However, are these claims true? How does cryptocurrency function? And to what extent do the great promises made by cryptocurrency supporters merely set regular people up to be the victims of a new generation of online fraudsters? We'll ask these questions and more. This is Revolution.
What's really extraordinary about Brock is that, one, he's literally dedicating the projects that he invests in to be projects that are furthering the average person, not just the super rich.
His name is Brock Pierce.
Sorry, I'm a little late.
Once a Disney child star, he helped build up a global video company that collapsed in scandal. He recovered from that to make a fortune in cryptocurrencies.
Sir, I've been surfing a bit over in San Juan. Yeah? So I gotta get, like, my surf game ain't there yet, but I'm inspired.
Now 37, he's made Puerto Rico his new home.
Hey there, Brock. How are you? Eric, thank you very much for talking to us. Great to meet you.
His vision is to create a tropical Silicon Valley.
Puerto Rico has the possibility now of being put on the map as a hub of innovation, and that's a wonderful thing if it works.
Brock Pierce says he can bring serious money from the mainland.
One of the personal skills that I have, and one of the things I can do to make a difference is I can bring the venture capital. I can bring the angel investors, the mentors, the advisors, the co-working facilities, the companies. I mean, how many companies has anyone heard of that have raised venture capital in Puerto Rico? I'm yet to hear of one.
Such good intentions, but you don't know that yet, and I'm not asking you to trust them.
I believe
they
that
have
people
such
have
good
good
intentions, and they are going to make something beautiful happen, and you're going to be a part of it, whether you like it or not.
So you're involved? What?
Exacto,
whether I like it or not.
It's going to.
We don't like it. We don't like it. That's what we're saying.
But eventually you will.
I hope our guest appreciated that music. He has a show called Doomed. I know he listens to heavy music. I tried to make a cool electronic themed doom metal song. I don't even think he listens to doom metal, which would make me even more sad. But please welcome, coming from the East Coast. You may know him from his show Doomed, from his time as the producer and contributor of the Majority Report. You may know him from his many articles. I read all of them, all those motherfuckers from Mashable. And I do have some questions about the iMac Mini M1. Please welcome Matt Bender.
What's up? How you guys doing? It's great to be here on the show. And I got to say, the videos, the music, this cool restream feature we're using where we're multicasting on my channels too. This is just over the top crazy. I love it. This is
what
great.
we're supposed to be doing in these circles where we don't have the big time right wing dollars. We have to be sharing the audience, not trying to be stingy and shit, right?
Yeah, I'm all about that. And also, I really am flabbergasted by those video packages. I mean, I don't do anything like that for my show, and you guys are making me look like the ultimate unprofessional, to be quite honest.
No. That I have to give a shout out to Forrest, who is, you might know him from he does some production stuff, or he used to do production for Jacobin, Ben Burgess producer. I think he did some production for Katie Halper. He actually helped with the ending logo. More of that cool shit is going to be happening for when I get back from my break. But you do listen to, I called in the Majority Report a while back and we talked for like 5 seconds. You don't listen to doom metal, but you listen to like hardcore, right?
Yeah, listen to punk, hardcore, crust punk, and like thrash. So it's in the same realm.
Okay. No, well, that's my bad. I'm old, so I grew up with 80s thrash, and I'm from the Bay Area, and I lived in the studio where all those bands rehearsed. So those are all my homies, and they definitely have a imprint on my musical soul. So I'm glad you appreciate that. But we're talking about cryptocurrency. And before we take deep dives into the libertarian bend on cryptocurrency and even Puerto Rico, where a lot of that video where I took a lot of that stuff from was a very good an Australian expose on what's happening in Puerto Rico. Let me ask you the first question, which is, for those that don't know, what the fuck is cryptocurrency?
All right. So cryptocurrency is basically what the crypto advocates would like you to convince is the money of the future. It basically is a digital form of money where, you can basically, what they want it to be is a digital currency. They want it to actually replace the US dollar and currencies all across the world and be some sort of great uniter, specifically Bitcoin in many instances. They want Bitcoin to basically what they think will decentralize the financial system and democratize the financial system and bring an easy way for the world to exchange goods and send money to each other wherever they may be with little to no fees. I mean, that's the dream. What it basically really is, though, and this is not just Bitcoin, this is all cryptocurrency. It's basically just a investment. It's an asset. And that's what it is right now. It's nothing more than that. You basically buy Bitcoin as a speculative asset. You buy Ether, which is Ethereum's monetary coin. That is a speculative asset. Dogecoin, the meme coins that take after Doge that you've probably heard all about, that are, a lot of these influencers have been scamming their fans with these other meme coins like Doge. It's all just a speculative asset, like how you'd put money in the stocks, like the stock market, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I want to actually get into, even a more basic kind of, this might seem rudimentary, but like, let's break this down into what is money, what is currency, what is a dollar, and why is Bitcoin or cryptocurrency not a dollar. Now, from what we understand, the dollar, which is a printed reserve note, is what's called, I think we all agree, called fiat currency.
Right.
Meaning that the dollar is not backed by any kind of commodity like gold. The value of the dollar is actually pegged to the overall GDP of the United States as a country, and the fact that the dollar is the reserve currency of record, which means that if you buy a particular commodity like oil in the world, you buy it in US dollars. So we all agreed to that. So that the dollar is a paper reserve note that is backed by the good faith and credit of the United States, that the government and the Federal Reserve, which is a quasi-governmental institution that is actually controlled by private sector banks, issues based on the good faith and credit of the United States to give value.
Right.
Now,
And there'll be a lot of crypto people who will want to go further into what actually makes money and how it needs to be backed by some sort of, a lot of gold bugs are into crypto. In fact, it is the heart of Bitcoin. It's like pretty much how Bitcoin was founded, and we can get that into a little bit. But I think at the heart of what you just said really is, the US dollar means something because the US government says it means something. It is the currency. It is what we use to exchange goods. It is what we use. And here really is the main thing. You can't pay your taxes with cryptocurrency. The United States government will accept one form of payment for your taxes, and that is the US dollar.
All right, well, this goes back to by the way, I never said that the US dollar was pegged to the GDP. The US dollar is the reserve currency of record. I didn't say it was pegged to the GDP. It is backed by the good faith and credit of the United States, which is rooted in its gross domestic product. So that being said, since we know that, as we know right now, cryptocurrency is not issued by governments, it's issued by private corporate actors. Is that correct?
Right. Well, basically anyone could create crypto, right? So you can create your own cryptocurrency if you want. Just get a developer who knows the space to create your crypto. You basically put it on a blockchain. Most of these cryptos that are coming up now are either built on Ethereum or BNB, and basically you could have your own digital currency if you'd like, as soon as you set that all up.
Well, let's slow. You're going a little faster here. First of all, you said blockchain. Okay. Define what is blockchain and how a cryptocurrency is manufactured.
Right. So basically on a blockchain, all this cryptocurrency is basically transacted on the blockchain. Blockchain is basically a fancy term that crypto people are using for what is essentially a ledger. All transactions that are made on with these cryptocurrencies, let's just stick with Bitcoin. So on the Bitcoin, if you send Bitcoin to me on the blockchain, people can look up that transaction if they have one of our Bitcoin addresses, and it will show what time you sent the Bitcoin to me, how much you sent me, and then they could also continue to track that. They can see if I end up sending that Bitcoin to somebody else, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, blockchain is where all of these transactions are taking place and being recorded.
Okay, so blockchain is just a ledger.
Digital ledger.
It's a digital ledger.
But the thing is that some of that you can kind of hide who's getting what. You don't have to have your real name.
Right. So here's the thing. So while it's all these transactions are extremely public, we can look up these transactions. It's all recorded on the blockchain. Anyone can look it up. Now, in the example I just used, where I received Bitcoin from you, people would have to know either your Bitcoin wallet address or my Bitcoin wallet address to essentially actually match up that transaction to us. Now, if they don't have either of our addresses, then there's nothing tying that specific person to that wallet. So if I've never made my Bitcoin wallet address public, no one will really know that that wallet address is mine, again, unless I publicize it.
Okay,
Also, I can publicize my wallet address, but also have a secondary wallet address, a third wallet address, many other wallet addresses that I decide to not tell anybody about. And I could be, hoarding money from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, whatever, in those various wallets that I own that I haven't publicized.
Okay, so let's go back to my question. The blockchain is the digital record that monitors the transaction of the Bitcoin, but what is the actual physical thing that is a Bitcoin? What is it literally made out of? What manufactures it? What is it made out of as a physical entity?
Right. Well, Bitcoins are just the zeros and ones. I mean, they're just literally code. I mean, that's when you hear that miners are like miners. We're talking about libertarians here, so I gotta make sure I let you know which miners we're talking about. But when we're talking mining in Bitcoin, basically what is being done is computers are being used to basically essentially solve all these what's really mathematical equations. And by doing so, they're basically helping these transactions occur on the blockchain. And as the thank you, because there is no this is where this decentralized thing comes in. So there is no like one big server that blockchain is running on where all of our transactions are going through. Blockchain is decentralized, whereas basically anyone who's basically taking part in this, in the solving of these equations, are helping run the blockchain and helping these transactions happen. And as a reward, the blockchain gives those miners Bitcoin in return. That's where these new Bitcoin come from. And that's why mining is a big business in Bitcoin and various other cryptocurrencies that take part in mining. Basically, you get these companies, a lot of this is happening in China. You get a lot of Chinese companies buying warehouse space, buying up all these high-powered computers, and essentially putting them in this space to basically just solve these equations so they can A, obviously help these transactions occur, but B, they get rewarded, and that's the main thing, in Bitcoin, and they are essentially making money out of nothing when you put aside all of the upfront costs they spend for all these mining rigs and the warehouse space.
So what you're telling me is you have a significant number of people who are doing computerized mathematical equations.
Yes.
Zeros and ones. And in compensation for their doing mathematical equations, they get a thing, which we still don't know what it's actually physically made of, called a Bitcoin.
Right. There is no like physical Bitcoin. That's sort of the thing. Like it really just exists as the number on your screen when you're looking at your wallet to see how much you have. It's the same thing a lot of these crypto advocates argue when they say, you know how, you have physical money, but if you get like a direct deposit into your bank account, the bank doesn't actually take whatever funds were just direct deposited and actually store that physical amount in dollars in like a safe for you. No, it's just basically a number that's put into your bank account. That's what they'll argue. I argue that yes, that's what they do, but they actually do have the money. Like they're not yes, they're not actually storing that particular physical dollar that you just put into your bank account in a safe specifically for you. Like you won't get that same dollar that you wrote like This Is Revolution podcast on back if that's what you want, but they actually do have the physical money that they're like, it's not like this money just exists as zeros and ones. It actually does exist.
Well, let me look. Did you guys, I had to handle some daddy shit a second ago. Did you guys find it? Did Pascal ask the question if it's finite or is it infinite? Can you mine forever, or is there an amount you can hit and the mining's done?
Right. So here's the thing. There is never going to be more than 21 million Bitcoin. That's how it was built by its anonymous founder, who goes by the name of Satoshi, who people haven't heard from for very long. So no one knows. It could be he or she or multiple people. People we just never know. Right. As of now, it's unknown. But it was built that way because, in his opinion, by basically creating a finite amount, it was more like gold. Like, we know there's a finite amount of gold, and this really bothers the crypto people, that the US dollar is not backed by any sort of physical asset like gold. To them, it means that, we can continue to print up money, and then inflation occurs, and then your money ends up being worthless, and this hurts everybody in the long run. It's better to have this finite amount. I mean, but to me, that's why we moved away from like the gold standard, because that completely hinders any ability for the government to rectify economic meltdowns. And just like we've seen this before, where, I mean, we could just look at how the government has previously printed up money to basically make sure that the economy keeps going, to make sure that funds can be distributed to people, so money continues to be spent, and the economy continues to go on during troublesome periods. The idea that 21 million Bitcoin will sustain a ever-growing population forever, I mean, I don't understand how that could ever be the case. So when 21 million and here's another thing too. So when all these 21 million Bitcoin are mined, that's it. But here's the other thing. Out of that 21 million Bitcoin, 1 million Bitcoin sits in a wallet that people believe belongs to Satoshi. This is 1 million of the 21 million Bitcoin that has never been touched. People don't know why Satoshi's never touched it. I mean, the dude could be a multi-billionaire if he sells this. Mm-hmm. He would also pretty much tank Bitcoin if he sells it.
So that's why he's not selling it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. He could be dead for all we know. Nobody really knows. I mean, one day he could just, let's put it this way. When Coinbase went public and they their stock went live, and before that happened though, mm-hmm. they basically had to go through the process of being basically like an audit, where investors are able to find out what are the risks involved with this company. And one of the risks involved with Coinbase is the fact that Satoshi owns 1 million Bitcoin, and that if something was to ever happen where this 1 million Bitcoin was sold, really the entire crypto market would tank, because while there's so many cryptocurrencies out there, it really is all pegged to Bitcoin. You'll see it when you look on Coinbase or any of the other various places where you can buy and sell crypto. When Bitcoin goes up, most of the other coins are going up. When Bitcoin goes down, most of the other coins are going down.
Yeah, well, hold on a second. I want to go back. Let's go back to some basics here. One of the things that makes a U.S. dollar, which is a piece of paper, valuable, is that the government of the United States, by law, requires it to be accepted as legal tender, which means that you can take a dollar to any commercial vendor of goods and services, and based on the value or price ascribed to a product, goods, or service, you can use a varying number of dollars to purchase that those goods and services. Has there been any nation state that has recognized Bitcoin as legal tender?
Right. So I just to say, if I heard that people said my mic was clipping, I have fixed that, I believe. Let me know if it's still clipping. But there is a single.
Still
what's that?
It's still clipping.
Still clipping? Let me see what I can do. Maybe I could turn it down a little bit more. How's that? Is that any better? Or maybe I could move the mic back a little bit too. How's that? Any change?
The volume sounds fine. I don't. It's just a weird clipping sound.
Let me give me a second to just unplug and replug my mic.
Yeah, here. We'll give you some time. We'll play some music and everything. So Pascal.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any money in Bitcoin?
I do not. I have very close friends and family who do have money in Bitcoin.
I'm surprised people didn't yell at me for not having the Spike Lee Bitcoin commercial in the video.
I'm actually glad you didn't.
That's exactly why I didn't. What's up, Matt? You ready?
Is that any better?
Your volume is way too low.
The clipping's gone, but so is Matt.
Is this any better? Now
keep going.
All right, here we go. Check. 1, 2.
Turn it down a little bit.
Sure.
There.
Check.
I don't hear it. Do you hear the clip?
Hey.
I don't hear it.
Flipping? Perfect. I think that should have fixed it then. All right, so let's.
In terms of the question of legal tender, where is Bitcoin? Is it recognized anywhere as legal tender?
Right. So there is one country that recently decided that it was going to allow Bitcoin to be one of its actual currencies. I say one of, as it's not the sole currency there, but it is one of its actual currencies, and that is El Salvador. Now, the president of El Salvador is sort of this right-wing libertarian-esque millennial guy who basically sees a future in Bitcoin. Where this all really came from was there was a crypto investor who decided to go down to El Salvador and set up a little project in a town there, which is now called Bitcoin Beach. And basically, massive amounts of time and effort were put into creating this little town where Bitcoin is used by all the people and all the shops who are there. And I should also say that funding was put into this. It's sort of not clear exactly where this money came from, although the guy who went down there to do this is a crypto advocate who does appear to have made a little bit. He's not one of the richest, but he made a significant sum of money from cryptocurrency. So it could just be him, but I think there's another company behind it that's not making their actual involvement that clear. But basically, this little place called Bitcoin Beach was set up, and it inspired the crypto world and community. And one of those was the president of El Salvador, who was like, we're going to take this and we're going to bring it out to the whole country. And so he basically convinced the Congress to pass this law where Bitcoin became one of the official currencies of El Salvador. Here's the thing with that. So that company I mentioned, they have this app called Lightning, which basically helps make Bitcoin transactions more simple for people who don't really get, buying this, selling this stuff off the blockchain or wherever. But the Bitcoin in this app basically exists just in this app. This stuff isn't, the reason they make it so simple is because it never actually leaves this company. It's basically like sitting in this app, and people are trading it within the app, but these transactions aren't being recorded on the blockchain like normal Bitcoin transactions are. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose of Bitcoin and crypto is so transparent. And so that's one I guess you could say annotation there, or one footnote, I guess you could say. Another thing is that in order to help spur this, once this law was passed, the country basically gave every citizen in the country, I think it was $30 worth of Bitcoin to use. The problem with that is that the only way to basically get real money, now remember, unless you're living in Bitcoin Beach, all these businesses aren't yet really set up for accepting Bitcoin. So a lot of them want the currency down in El Salvador is the US dollar, besides Bitcoin now. So to help, to help spur this sort of thing, the use of Bitcoin. They gave everyone $30 in Bitcoin. But the problem is the only way to get that money out, if you want to use that money, is through a Bitcoin ATM. Now, you're probably wondering how many Bitcoin ATMs are there in El Salvador? Well, not many. I think when I last looked it up, when this law passed just, I believe, a month or so ago, there was something like 3 Bitcoin ATMs in the entire country. So you have all these people who are basically stuck with this $30 and again, El Salvador is a country where the majority of the population is not exactly well off and rolling in money. $30 is $30. They can sure use it. So to help spur that, even the country had to put aside I think it's like something like $150 million worth of money to basically help the citizens quickly transfer their Bitcoin into dollars if that's what they want to do, in order to sort of help spark the use of Bitcoin, but really to say, we realize that we're going to make everybody angry if they got this money and they can't access it. On top of that, a lot of crypto advocates are really happy with crypto because they say, promoted, I should say, because they say that crypto helps a lot of these poorer countries get rid of all these sort of remittance fees. Basically, when you try to Western Union somebody money and there's these large fees involved, or when you need to wire somebody money in another country, there's obviously usually fees involved. But here's the thing. Bitcoin and crypto has all sorts of fees too. In fact, the ATM fees for crypto are usually significantly higher than your usual bank fees. Now, let's say you happen to come across a way to send your Bitcoin or whatever crypto to someone overseas where minimal transactions. Let's say there's a cryptocurrency that you're able to send with, maybe minimal fees, if no fees. Another problem is this stuff is so volatile because, again, going back to the very beginning, none of this is really currency because it goes up and down, ebbs and flows so much. We're really talking about speculative assets. So when we're talking about saving money on fees, sure, but your money that you sent to someone that, let's say, was worth $1,000 today, by the time it gets to them and they access it in their account, maybe it's worth $900, maybe it's worth $1,200, maybe they made some money off it, maybe it's worth half, maybe their $1,000 is now worth $500. That's just how volatile this stuff is. And it just sort of defeats the purpose, like all of their arguments against the banking system. And again, there are many ways to criticize the banking system. The big banks are not anything that people who criticize crypto are heralding and saying, oh, I love the way big banks work. Give me Bank of America any day. And no one's saying that. But if you're selling a system that's supposed to be a vast improvement of the current system, and your system of the future is not only not a vast improvement, but in many ways even worse than the current system, then maybe that system is just not the answer.
First of all, you mentioned something. You said Bitcoin ATMs. If in the earlier part of the conversation, you said there is not a physical thing called a Bitcoin. So what exactly is the item you're getting from a Bitcoin ATM?
You get your currency. You get your actual currency. You're basically going to the Bitcoin ATM. You're logging in basically to your wallet address, probably using your phone and like a QR code to scan it, or maybe you log in via some sort of, if it's a specific ATM, they might have connections to various different services where your Bitcoin or whatever crypto we're talking about is stored. So basically, you are logging in to your wallet on the ATM, and in return, basically transferring your Bitcoin into whatever the currency of that country is. For ease of this conversation, let's just always say we're talking about US dollars. So you are logging into the ATM with your wallet address, sending the Bitcoin from your wallet to the ATM service, and in return, they are giving you US dollars that are worth whatever amount of Bitcoin you gave them, minus whatever transaction fees, minus whatever it is now worth in the time it took for you to send it to them and for them to get it to you. So that's basically what you're getting. Again, there is no physical Bitcoin. There is no physical crypto. There is nothing that you will ever get to hold and feel and touch when we're talking about cryptocurrency. What you get and where its real value is, the thing that you can actually feel and touch and hold, is the actual currency that is the US dollar. I mean, that is what we're talking about here. Crypto's worth is inherently whatever it is in US dollars. Like the idea that,
Whoa. You said inherently. What is the inherent value of zeros and ones? I mean, in other words, what exactly is the asset here? I mean, you're saying that I buy $30 worth of Bitcoin. Okay. First of all, why does this X coin, what is $30 of Bitcoin? Does that mean $30 of a certain number of zeros and ones? If that means if it's a $30 of a number of zeros and ones, which by the way, has only been valued as of an actual exchangeable currency in one country, the $30 I put in to buy this thing, I go to an ATM and I just get that $30 back. So what exactly about these zeros and one makes them an asset? What is valuable about it?
It's the fact that other people will buy it. When we're talking about
so because more people are buying something that has no value is what's making it valuable.
Literally, that is exactly what we're talking about here. I mean, it's insane, isn't it? Because this is to really understand this, let's talk about how a lot of these sort of meme coins, what Black people call shit coins, a lot of what the influencers who like to scam their fans with these new coins that they just got paid from. Yeah.
So I do want to. I'm glad you bring that up, because you've written actually quite a bit over the last month or so, and I commend you for your writing, because I don't follow these people. I can't take anyone seriously. Balltastic just tweeted out that Rotten Crotch just said that so-and-so is doing a pump and dump scheme. I'm like, Jesus Christ, the shit that this man has to read and watch. Coffee Mate 4 just said this guy's full of shit. So in the gaming Twitch world, a bunch of these dudes with literal millions of followers were part of what we would call a pump and dump scheme. Old school pump and dump, 80s terminology, right?
The Robert Booth system, people are like, well, the U.S. dollar has no value. He answered the question right there. The U.S. dollar is backed by the potential violence of the state and the nukes to back it up. So that gives it a lot of value.
Right. Yes. No, that's, I mean, I know we're going to get more into but I brought up these meme coins to first just sort of give an example to what Pascal was talking about. And that is that, when you're investing in these meme coins, a lot of what their worth is what their market value is. Like, for example, if you create a meme coin and you give yourself 1 billion of your meme coin, and you say that, this meme coin is going to start at a selling price of $1. Now, you can't just turn around and sell your billion, this is revolution coins, and for $1, and boom, you got $1 billion. What gives it that value, and this is why the pump and dump thing is so big with influencers, and we'll get into that in a second, is the market value. How many other people are buying in to buy those coins that you are now selling so you can make your money? Now, that's exactly how, obviously, Bitcoin's market value is huge at this point, because we're talking about a coin that's going to eventually have there'll be 21 million of them, and right now it sells for about $35,000 a piece for a single Bitcoin. So market value there is huge. So they're not really worried at this point for the idea that I couldn't sell my Bitcoin and get my 30,000, 35,000 because there'll be nobody there to sell it to. That's not what they're worried about in the Bitcoin world. But that's what gives it its value. There's someone on the other side willing to buy Bitcoin, and you're looking to sell it. And that's why it's worth something. It's a lot of that's like with the NFTs you see now too, which is basically just, I mean, that's a whole, maybe we shouldn't even get to that, but basically you got these people, you got people buying a piece of digital art not even the rights to it. They don't even own the copyright to it. They just get to say they own the original piece of digital art that anyone can copy and paste and put up as a JPEG anywhere they want and put it on their blog. Because again, they don't even own the rights to say, take that down. The rights belong to the artist still. And they're spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars just to be able to say, I own that without any exclusivity. It's like, but again, how are those artists able to sell it for that much? Well, because there's some rich guy who's willing to buy it. So really, that is the story when you get down to it of what crypto is and why they're all worth something. There's somebody who's bought into this stuff and they're willing to spend the money for it.
But here's a little 800-pound gorilla in the room here. Since we understand that within the confines of the nation state, one of the important duties of a nation state is to control the value of its currency. Now, some people are saying Bitcoin is currency. Some people are saying it's assets. Some people are saying that they want to be an asset that becomes currency. But all of this speculation of the value of this quote-unquote Bitcoin comes down to one thing. What exactly happens if the sovereign government of the world, barring El Salvador, simply say, we don't want to accept this as either an asset or a form of currency anymore, and this ended? What happens?
Well, basically, what you're seeing is, China is cracking down in the Chinese government's cracking down on a lot of these Bitcoin mining operations. They don't like it. The U.S. government looks, and this bothers a lot of crypto people. In the early days of crypto, actually, a lot of these folks, and again, we could get to this, why this stuff is inherently right-wing to begin with, from its founding. A lot of people who bought and sold crypto in the early days literally thought they were going to be able to skirt any taxes that come along with their gains. Like they thought, oh, this is a currency. There's nothing to do with the US. And you had like their tax accountant sitting down with them and saying like, no, you bought something, you sold it and made money from it. This is the equivalent to like selling a stock. You have to pay taxes. And they were astounded that this was a thing. They really thought they skirted the system with this stuff. The US government looks at crypto as an asset. It is taxed like your gains on any other investment. So that's that. I mean, if the US wanted to crack down on it further, which they should in terms of, because the other than how it's taxed, the crypto world is very unregulated. There is nothing basically stopping a lot of people from doing these pump and dumps. There are no rules. Like even in the stock market game, like if you want to be a day trader, there are limits on how many times you could trade per day, unless you have a certain amount of assets to back your trades, because the trades don't go, while you get to sell right away, the trades don't actually go through in their back end right away. It takes like 2 or 3 days for that to occur. So while you're trading and making this money or making some losses, the money is still transacting in the background between the various different firms that take care of this. So in day trading, even there are regulations to make sure that you can't like skirt various things. Here, there's nothing like that. There's nothing stopping you from buying Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin, buying Dogecoin, sell how many times you want, whenever you want. I mean, that's another thing too with the stock market. We know, barring the early trading hours and the after hours, it's opens at 9:30 East Coast time, closes 4 o'clock East Coast time, Monday through Friday. Bitcoin and the crypto markets, they never close. 24/7 trading going on, 24/7 assets going up and down all over the place, ebbing and flowing. You really, if you have a significant amount of money in crypto and you are not fortunate enough to like lose it, a lot of these crypto people put all their money into it. It's ridiculous, but you really got to be paying attention to this stuff 24/7. There is no break. There's also no like news to really peg it to usually. Like, yeah, when China banned those mining companies, there was a huge drop. Things like that obviously affect the price value of a lot of this. But at least with the stock market, and again, not advocating for the stock market, that's got its own problems. But to compare, at least with the stock market, you can sort of peg like where you want your investment to go. You can read into a business, see what they do. Oh, this company sells this product. This product is very popular right now. It's doing well. This company seems to have their shit together. I'm looking at their background, their investment papers. You know, it looks like their paperwork where they see the company in 5 years or whatever. It makes sense to me. I'm going to invest in that. With crypto, sure, they got their white papers that try to do the same thing, but that doesn't really mean anything because, again, they're not creating anything. Like there is nothing to really, it's basically just a marketing thing. Like how well can you sell your crypto when compared to the other cryptos?
Like this is what it feels like to me, especially, again, I read everything that you wrote on Mashable for the last quite a few months. Thank you for making brief articles.
Right.
But all jokes aside, it does feel like you could call it influencer coin, and this is the world that we live in right now that is so influencer heavy that you have these people that honestly outside of their small ecosystem, you say their name, I don't know who the fuck they are.
Yeah, you got FaZe Clan, Aiden Ross.
Pascal's looking at me. FaZe Clan, Pascal. Wu-Tang Clan, Boomtang Clan.
I mean, basically what this is that, you know, I wouldn't call it a Ponzi scheme. It's an asset that's only valuable because it's in right now and a lot of people are putting money into it. But it's not an asset. For example, when you buy a commodity of a share of a stock, what makes that an asset is that you're buying a piece of a company that produces a product that gives it profit. And its manufacturing or its selling of that product makes it profitable. The asset that we're talking about relative to Bitcoin has no integral or actual value besides the fact that other people are investing in it. You know?
Right.
So
well, it is actually, I've spoken to speaking, I said, what is that time in a word? Spoken to experts on, not even crypto experts, Ponzi scheme experts, various like multi-level marketing scheme experts. Mm-hmm. And basically they actually have described a lot of these cryptocurrencies as that. And here's why. Maybe it's not so obvious now at this point with Bitcoin and Ethereum and these bigger cryptos where there does seem to be the money there backing it because you have these big time investors bought into it and they own so many of these coins. And we can talk about that being another problem in a minute. But when it comes to these meme coins that influencers are being paid to push, the meme coins, again, are the ones where, like, you know, you could hire a developer and set up a meme coin and just get some people to pump it up and promote it, and their fans will buy in, and boom, the coin will go up in value. Now, here's the thing. A lot of those meme coins hire these influencers to pump it up to their fans. And in turn, they give a lot of free coins because, again, as the person who created this, you have as many coins as you like, really. Like, you could basically hoard the coins. Obviously, you need to sell some, so there's somebody to sell it to. But you could basically give out whatever these coins you want to people in lieu of payment for them to promote your coin. And the idea is, hey, you know, maybe one day this will be worth a lot of money and you could cash in and this promotion will be worth it. But when you have so many coins, like, the market is saturated with this stuff. There's literally probably one or two new meme coins. I don't even want to say a day because that's low. Like, we're talking like half a dozen meme coins a day, probably. So you basically have people creating these coins and they give it away to influencers to pump up to their fans, saying, like, you know, you pump this up, your fans buy in, we all win, right? Because the money will come in and the coin worth will go up. So what happens is the coin launches. These influencers tell their fans to buy. They say, great investment. You know, I'm bought in, without really telling them that they got their coins for free. And all their fans are like, oh, this guy who I trust got 5 million subscribers on YouTube, 10 million subscribers on Twitch. This is a trustworthy guy, hundreds of thousands of views, concurrent views for his streams usually. I trust this guy. He wouldn't scam me. So they buy in thinking this is actually going to be a good investment. So coin launches, all the people are buying in, price goes up, price goes up. Let's say it started as $1. You see it going up, $1.25, $1.50, $2. All of a sudden, those people who own all those coins and didn't buy in, so they don't got any money to lose. They're saying, holy shit, I got like 100,000 coins that I got for basically promoting it to my fans. They're worth $2 a pop now. That's an easy 200K. I'm going to sell off now. So within a few hours, this coin goes to $2. You have all these influencers who are giving the coins for free, selling off in order to make their actual, again, they want real money, not this crypto money that could, again, plummet and be worth nothing. And they get nothing for promoting it to their fans. So they're selling off. As soon as they see it get to a point where they think they're going to make some cash, they sell. What happens? You have all these whales, which is what you call someone who has the majority of whatever crypto you're talking about. You have all these whales selling off. They are tanking the value of the coin because, again, there's not that many people buying in for them to sell off to. So coin starts to tank, drops in value. And before you know it, all the people with who are holding all these coins are completely out. And all that's left is, let's say, the couple thousand people, maybe even 10,000 people who put $100 in, $1,000 in. Not enough to really sustain this coin and make it worth anything. But each of those individuals are out what is probably to them a significant sum of money. It is a pump and dump. They know this is going to happen when they do this, because they know they're the ones who have the majority of the coin. Like, if you believe in something, if you created a project because you believe it'll be the next best thing. Look at, we even, for the one example, maybe I'll give to Bitcoin where they look good in this whole thing, is look at Satoshi. He gave himself 1 million coins, never sold. The guy could be a billionaire right now, never sold his 1 million coins. That's how you know the guy believed in this thing he made. When you got all these people creating these coins, hiring these influencers to promote this stuff, getting their fans to buy in, and all of a sudden they all start selling off because they hold all the coins and this is big money now, shows they never really believed in it. They knew what they were doing. They knew that if they sold, their coin would be worthless. And they scammed these people.
Matt, what do you say to people? And I have a friend that actually put a post up. I haven't heard from him some time. I was like, hey, I want to see this because he worked at a bar. You know, you could do that in San Francisco and get by. And then everything shut down during COVID. And he said Bitcoin was the one thing that kind of kept him afloat.
Right.
What do you say to people that say, well, like that, like, well, I don't have any problem with Bitcoin because if it wasn't for Bitcoin, they saved me where the government gave me $1,200 and said, eat a dick.
Right.
You know, let's make it clear. There are people making money from this Bitcoin stuff because obviously it's no, I mean, you know, anytime people are throwing cash at something, it's going to have be value. It's not a mystery why there's money in this because everyone's buying the bullshit.
Right. Of course. And this is what I think. Listen, I'm a critic of this whole industry. I think it's a house of cards. It's ready to, I mean, eventually it will fall. And there are things that I don't think it'll go away. I'm not, don't walk away from this saying Matt Binder is prophesizing that, one day there will be no more crypto. I'm not here to do that. I don't think, like, I can't say that something will go away. I agree that enough people with the means are into this to keep this going. The question is, will they keep it going at the level it's at now? I think there will be a real falling of this stuff eventually, where it will get to a point where it's not worth what it's worth right now. But this is how I look at it. If you were someone who made money off of crypto, then, I mean, good for you. I mean, it's the equivalent to me of saying, I invested in the right stock, or even more so, I think it's more the better analogy is I got the right hand in a game of poker. I think crypto is way more analogous with gambling than it is with the stock market.
I agree.
And Listen, people, I'm against I'm against the idea of a lot of this stuff for various reasons. The environmental effects from these mining operations.
I definitely want to get in there. Are you going to be able to? I do want to interrupt you real quick. Are you going to be able to hang with us for the?
Oh
bonus?
don't worry about that. Yeah, we
don't give up. So I want to get into the environmental aspects because I think for all the pro crypto users, it's one of those things where it's like it's almost like I worked in the Gulf of Mexico and I worked actually in North Dakota where people fracked, and you should hear what guys that work in the fracking industry say about fracking. I'm talking about rank and file. Right. And it's the same thing with crypto. It's like, the damage to the environment isn't as bad as you think. That's just the environmental industry,
Right.
And the same thing can be said about this, especially when you look at, I don't know the ins and outs of El Salvador, but Puerto Rico is something that I actually have read quite a bit about what's going on with Bitcoin trying to come into there, even getting tax breaks that the citizens can't get that are from Puerto Rico. And we'll get into that in the bonus half as well. And we can really get into why I think all this shit is bullshit. I mean, if you make a few dollars on it, great. I literally know professional poker players.
Right. I mean, if you're someone who like my criticism isn't telling people like, oh, I don't want you making money off of this. Like, I know there are people who do believe that. I think, if you cannot buy it for, various other problematic reasons, the environmental effects is a major one, then sure. But listen, we live in the system we live in, and people have to do all sorts of things to get by. I get it. If you're someone who made money off of crypto and have a positive look at it because of that reason, I get it. But you also have to understand that that's the reason why you look at it positively. Like, no one's going to say, like, I just made a ton of money off of something. I hate it. Like, you have to look at it through that lens. I'm not looking at it through the lens of, it's a bad way to make money. I'm looking at how crypto advocates are promoting it, what they want it to be. They want it to replace how we, make transactions and conduct trade, basically. And I'm here basically to mostly criticize that, the idea that is not going to happen. Like, the future that these Bitcoin advocates want is just not going to happen, and it's for these various reasons. I'm not here to attack anyone who has made a living off of this. If you have, you're lucky, really. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's luck. I mean, there are people who I know who actually did buy Bitcoin way back, back in the early 2010s, and they lost it not because of their own selling it or their own mess ups or whatever. They lost it because essentially the various different systems to hold Bitcoin in the early days were full of scammers. And you had big exchanges. Mt. Gox is one that comes to mind immediately, where now Mt. Gox was basically the first place where you could actually start exchanging your Bitcoin for actual real money. But eventually, things got out of hand there, and people put all their money, all their Bitcoin there to hold on to, and Mt. Gox basically just shut down, disappeared, and all that money went poof. I mean, this is just a whole industry rife with scams, and if you're someone who made money off of it, it is pure luck. You got in early enough to make money. You found a way to hold on to it without getting scammed. And then you sold, and good for you. I mean, I have no attack on you, nothing to criticize about that. We all make money in whatever ways we can when we have to provide for our families,
So apparently Nina Turner lost her run for Congress in Ohio per the last results of I'm actually more interested in talking about that than Bitcoin, quite frankly. But
I completely, yeah, we could talk about that as well. I mean, it sucks. I mean, they put a lot of.
Is that you?
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps ringing. I'm sorry. It's a bill collector. I can take the call if you like.
It's a Bitcoin bill collector.
I wish.
with Nina Turner, it's unfortunate because the Democratic establishment put a lot of money
for fatback and biscuits going. He said, "Oh man, the Nina Turner laws, the fatback and biscuits are being picked up at the front window. Cats are getting that heavy grease."
Matt knows. You have to give Matt a real quick breakdown on fatback and biscuits.
Fatback and biscuits is a kind of pejorative I've made up to explain the patronage the Democratic Party gives to members of certain constituencies for engaging in its nefarious politics of corralling voters of certain constituencies into campaigns and politics that damage them.
Right. I like that. That's it's a good way to. It's a good way to yeah.
So Pascal was on a panel with a bunch of his well-to-do fraternity brothers, and he made the fatback and biscuits comment, and one of them responded, "I love fatback biscuits," and I was like, "Oh, you are not supposed to say that at all."
I love it when folks expose themselves, man.
I love going to Martha's Vineyard. I was like, "You're saying it again. You're setting them up. You're putting it on the tee, Larry Blackman."
Oh, naming names.
Hey, his dad is a fucking national treasure. I don't care what anybody says. Cameo is one of the greatest funk bands of all time. I put them in the top 10 of funk bands all time. And sometimes the funk skips a generation. That's all I gotta say. And it's not like he's watching this, because if he is, he's just pounding out, "What are you talking about?" That's not happening. Well, thank you, Matt, for joining us for the hour. For all those watching on Matt's Doom channel, thank you guys for checking us out. This is Revolution Podcast, is what we're called.
By the way, the show is streaming on my Facebook page now, as well as my Twitter.
Wow, that's personal. I'm just playing.
I have 4,900 Facebook
Okay, yeah. Everybody's got a big one. Fuck for hours. I know. Yeah. Thank you guys for checking us out. If you are a patron, go on over to the patron. It's already set up. And we will see you guys in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for coming on. This was fun.
Oh, a lot of fun.
All right.